We had 3 separate departments when I got here. We had the I Do Police Work Police, which is the citywide task forces. We had the I Make People Feel Good Police, which is CAPS. And then we had the I Answer the Radio Police. And none of the 3 shall do the other's job.
Wow.
The officers
reporting
in
to
the
the same
districts-
person, or are they reporting to the same?
No, all different. All different.
Yeah.
But this was a generalization.
Yeah.
The officers who were in the districts were shorthanded, so all they did was answer calls for service. And we answered too many calls for service. We had to streamline what we were doing, right? We had to stop answering some calls for service, quite frankly. So those officers only responded to calls for service, never doing any proactive policing. The officers in the task force are the officers who have no connection to the community because they could be on the northwest side on one day and on the southeast side the next. Right? Those are the ones who get us in trouble with the quote-unquote heavy-handed police tactics that they use. And then the CAPS officers would basically not do police work. They'd just go out to community meetings and talk. And I decided that the 2 officers, if Rabine and McCarthy were in the same beat every single day with beat integrity and were held accountable for answering the radio, for doing the proactive police work, and doing the community relations all at the same time, we'd get a better product.
Sure.
So it wasn't an organization pulling in different directions. It became an organization all pulling in the same direction. Disbanded those citywide task forces, and everybody got geographical accountability.
How was that cross training taken by the unions, the representatives of the union, union police, and all that?
Gary, one of my favorite sayings is that there's 2 things people don't like: the way things are and change. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of consternation when you want to change things.
Yeah.
And eventually, looking back, people say, "Wow, that really worked," because overall crime was down 40%. Like I said, lowest murder rates since 1965. Complaints against officers went down. We had this gold star training for something called police. Oh my God, I can't believe I lost it. Police legitimacy, right? That was the idol of the country. Everybody was coming here to learn about this. It was put together by us and a couple of professors at Yale.
What does that consist of?
It's a 1-day training of giving people a voice, recognizing the differences, but recognizing the similarities in people. Not just telling people what to do, but also listening to them once the tactical situation is gone. If an officer is responding to a potentially dangerous situation, the tactics are the first most important thing. Once that's gone, we could have a conversation. I could tell you why I stopped you. I could tell you what's going on. And that reduced complaints against officers along with the beat integrity, because the officers got to know the 5 kids who were coming from basketball practice versus the 5 kids who were always on the other corner. So just practical application of business management.
Engagement in the community is what I heard. When you're in charge, the engagement in the community was at an all-time high from what I knew, from what I've heard from police officers, from communities, and gosh, that just makes sense.
Well, but beyond that, Gary, the data-driven policing of putting the cops on the dots, who, when, and where crime is happening. We have all this data, and if you don't use it, like you said, in business or in policing, it becomes useless. If we put the same amount of officers in Saguenay as we do in Englewood, we're failing, because in Englewood, it's the most violent community in the city.
Yeah.
So we have to ensure, if we're going to reduce crime in the city, we have to take on the big dogs first.
Yeah,
right?
but it seems like a no-brainer, right?
West Lawndale, Englewood, and so on.
Yeah.
So when I disbanded those task forces, that's how I was able to right-size the districts.